Greetings, citizens. Hello, you. Hey, friend. How you doing? Welcome back. And if you're new here, hi. My name is Brittany. Welcome to my channel, and welcome to Hallowstein, my 2020 Halloween series. It's going to be running all through the month of October. I'm so happy that you found me here. I'm so glad that we can meet like this. Do you come here often? I would love it if you would join the Brat Pack by subscribing and ringing the bell. I put out new videos every week. Usually they are true crime and beauty related. And I would love to hang out with you, specifically you. I think it would be a good time and I think you'd enjoy yourself. So if you could do that, that'd be tight. So if this is your first Hallowstein video, or if you are new, I would just like to real quick let you know what we're doing here during this series. Normally on my channel I do a thing called morbid makeup, where I do a full face of makeup while telling you about a true crime case that I've been enjoying or that you have asked about. And I do beauty makeup, but since it's Halloween, I wanted to do that with a spooky twist because I thought that would be more fun for the holiday season, right? So for the month of October, I'm doing a 2-video a week series called Hallowstein, which is Halloween and BRATTERSTEIN smushed together. They had a baby. Bleh, wah, Hallowstein. It's beautiful, I know, it's wonderful, I'm a genius. Anyways, instead of true crime stories during the month of October, I'm gonna be telling you the true story that inspired a supernaturally charged popular horror movie that was, wait for it, based on a true story. Dun, dun, dun! And instead of beauty makeup, we're gonna be doing Halloween makeup, Halloween looks that are easily replicated so that if you want to do them, if you're actually able to go out on Halloween this year, you can. And if you're watching this in the future, did we make it? Did we make it? I guess we did if you're watching this, right? So today's video is going to be a sequel to last week's video, which if you missed it, I would highly suggest watching it. It's on the Conjuring 1, which is based on the haunting of the Mehron family. Very good. And I mean, I enjoyed the video, so I think you'd enjoy it as well. Well, today we're going to be discussing the events that inspired the Conjuring 2. Because naturally that would come next. Conjuring 1, Conjuring 2, 1, 2, duh. Footnote, if you haven't seen The Conjuring 1 or The Conjuring 2 and you are a horror fan, 10 out of 10 would recommend watching them. All of the movies that I'm going to be discussing through Hallowstein are all killer horror films, in my opinion, and I recommend them all totally. Just so you know, if you haven't seen any of these, I would say watch them. So now, children, come in close, gather around my campfire, and let me tell you the story of the Enfield Poltergeist. So, 6 years after the Mehron family hauntings that inspired the movie The Conjuring 1, in 1977, the Hodgson's family from Enfield, England started to experience a similar haunting themselves. So picture this, it's August 1977, and you see this beautiful little brick front suburban semi, which I had to look up what a semi was, because I'm from the United States and I've never heard that term, and apparently it's what you would call like a duplex here, like two units connected. It had a dreamy little bay window, which I love. Can't wait till the day I live in a place that has one of those. And inside lived a single mother named Peggy Hodgson's and her 4 children, Johnny, Janet, Margaret, and Billy. So the family started to hear little knocks and bangs in the night, but they chalked it up to nothing. You know, it's just someone outside, a neighbor, someone trying to break into the house, you know. Casual, real casual stuff. But it escalated to the point that the kids, particularly Janet, would have their beds start shaking at night with no explanation. But of course, Peggy was skeptical, as anyone would be. You wouldn't just expect that your house is haunted. Your kids are just being dramatic or lying, as little kids sometimes do. Stinking liars. Well, stinking liars. Bed's moving at night. Okay, Janet, go to bed. Until late one evening, Peggy was in bed when she started to hear her children screaming from their room down the hall. So she got up, probably pissed off, going in there to be like, quiet down, young children, ladies, boys, mama's trying to sleep, pipe down, pipsqueak. Well, she headed to talk to the kids and see what all of the hullabaloo was about. So Peggy bursts through the door, and when she does, she finds her 2 small daughters huddled together in a corner, not moving, and she's like, "What's up? What are you doing? What's wrong?" They said that their dresser had moved on its own. Oh my God, what did I do to this brow? So, just as Peggy utters the words, "Oh, don't be silly, girls," the girl's dresser slides across the bedroom by itself towards Peggy, who's standing in front of the bedroom door. No. So Peggy put out her hands and she tried to push it back, which is like, girl power, go Peggy, that's very brave. I'd probably leave. But she tried to push it back and it wouldn't move, it wouldn't budge at all. And when she took her hands off, it budged, it like went towards her again. It seemed like it was trying to block them into the bedroom. And as I'm sure you can imagine, This scared the shit out of Peggy and her kids. So, in a very smart move, which you don't normally hear about in these haunting situations, Peggy gathered her troops and got the hell out of that house, running to a neighbor's house for refuge and help. So upon arriving at Peggy's neighbor's house, she asked the man of the house if he would mind and go and check on her home and see if everything was okay. And I would just imagine how that conversation goes. It would be like, yeah, the dresser, you know, it like moved on its own and tried to crush me into the door. Could you just go over and be like a big strong man and check for me and see if everything's okay? Please, please, please. Can you imagine being that neighbor and hearing that request and being like, your masculinity would be challenged so much. On one hand, you're like, no, how about you get out of here with all of your kids? This is so not my problem. But on the other hand, he's like, I don't do this. I'm a pussy, I don't know what to do. Everyone's gonna think I'm lame. You know, the 70s. So he goes over and is immediately overcome with fright when entering the house, and he starts to hear knocking coming from inside the walls. So he left because he's smart, and when he got back to the house, he was just like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to tell you. And he was a big guy, and he was like drained of color in the fear. So Peggy called the cops, and man, I would love to hear that 911 call. You know, I guess it's not a 911 call because 911 is America's emergency number. Well, either way, I'd like to hear that phone call to the emergency services in England, because imagine what it sounds like. But they sent somebody, and the cop showed up around 1 a.m. and they're inside talking, getting the gist of what happened, probably thinking that these people are crazy out of their minds, when an armchair moves from one side of the kitchen, I think it was in the living room, and slides across the entire kitchen, and the police see this. And I can just imagine they were kind of like, well, that's odd. Don't see that one every day. So they, of course, tried to investigate and see if they could find what happened to make the chair move, and they cannot explain it. And the police left. They were like, well, I mean, that's weird, but this isn't really a police matter. So they were like, sorry, I guess you're gonna have to figure this one out on your own, guys. And they just left. But they always claimed that this did happen. They've never denied it. And I mean, why, what purpose do they have to lie about this? I don't know, it's kind of spooky. So after a few more days of strange things happening, you know, items moving on their own, appliances turning on and off, the lights flickering, you know, the ghost works, Peggy decides to call the Daily Mirror. From what I gathered, because I looked into this, it's kind of like a tabloid in England. Like, you know, the magazines you see in the racks at the grocery store, like who's banging who's got the most atrocious beach body you could ever imagine, those types of magazines. So, the magazine sent over a reporter and a photographer, and the two men stayed in the Hodgson house overnight with the Hodgson's family at a neighbor's house. So they weren't in the house, and while they were there that night, nothing strange happened. So, the two men were like, okay, nothing going on here, let's bounce, right? They're on their way out. And so they go next door to let Peggy and the kids know that they're gonna be leaving. So, Peggy and the kids and the reporter and the photographer all head back over to the house together. I don't know why they went back, since they just said they were leaving, but they go back over together with the family to the house. Now, as soon as the reporter and the photographer entered the home with the family, things wilded out a little bit. Small toys like Legos and marbles started like swirling around the room, willy-nilly like, and both the reporter and the photographer claimed to have seen this, the photographer being struck by a rogue Lego in the head hard enough to leave a mark. It was a run-by fruiting. So, the Daily Mirror got in contact with a paranormal investigator by the name of Maurice Gross, who ended up going to the house and spending a ton of time with the Hodgson's family. He was very, very determined in finding life after death. This was his thing. He had become a paranormal investigator after his daughter, whose name was Janet, which is kind of strange. Two Janets in this story. Well, after she died, tragically, he became a paranormal investigator, probably because, you know, he missed his daughter, I imagine. It's really sad. So Maurice spent a lot of time with the family, documenting all of the strange happenings that he noticed in the house, such as freshly folded clothing that was, you know, sitting on the table would fly off the table willy-nilly. Rude, first off. There would be items that would just materialize out of thin air, like coins and stuff would just be like, boop, ding, and then just be there. You know, items, furniture would move around the house by itself, stuff like that he documented. So Maurice wanted to try to communicate with the spirits, right? So he was like, okay, knock 1 time for yes, 2 times for no, and let's see what's going on, right? So he asked the spirit, he was like, hey, did you die in this house? And the spirit knocked 3 times. Cheeky little whippa. And he was like, are you messing with me? Are you playing with me, spirit? And that is when a cardboard box that had been sitting across the room flew at him and hit him in the face. So, about a month later, in late September, the family left their home to go and stay at Peggy's brother's house. They probably just wanted like a night away, a night of peace, maybe a good night's sleep, away from all the craziness, so they went to Peggy's brother's to spend the night. But unfortunately, while there, they found out that it seems like the spirit was not attached to the house, but to a specific person, because while in the kitchen, John's wife was making a cup of tea when a Lego materialized out of thin air and dropped on the counter in front of her. What? What? No thank you to that. It actually makes sense if you think about the rest of the story, that the spirits were connected to a person and not a place, considering when the reporter and the photographer were at the house and the family wasn't in the house, nothing happened. But as soon as the family returned, something did happen. And that's because the focus, the main thing that this spirit was focused on, was the family's young daughter, Janet. Janet would wake up in the night to strange noises or voices in her ears. Sometimes she would even be sleeping and have her pillow ripped out from under her head and thrown across the room. One night in November of 1977, Janet had been sleeping in her bed when all of a sudden the bed came off the ground. The frame tipped over, Janet fell out of the bed, and her mattress fell on top of her, crushing her. Janet would go to bed in her bed, and then she would wake up in different places. Sometimes she'd be under her bed, sometimes she would just be like strewn about over a random piece of furniture, and sometimes she would just be simply thrown from her bed while she was asleep. At one point, Maurice Grosse, while he was staying in the house, he witnessed Janet's bedroom door open on its own, and then Janet starts sliding down the interior stairs in her home, head first. Just sliding down, dead asleep. So, since Janet was the main focus of the spirits, hauntings, when paranormal investigators came to the house a little bit later, they decided to have Janet in the room while they tried to contact the spirits of the house, because they figured if she was around, maybe they'd talk, maybe they'd be more likely to talk since they like Janet, like, here's your friend, let's have a chat. While this happened, they were trying to talk to the spirits. All of a sudden, a whistle came from within Janet. She was like totally in a trance, and a weird whistle came out of her mouth before the voice of a grown-ass man came out of this 12-year-old girl's mouth. And this, if you Google this, you can actually hear the audio, and it's very scary sounding, and apparently this came out of a 12-year-old girl's mouth. The voice claimed that he was a man named William Wilkins who had died of a hemorrhage. Well, now that the people had tried to communicate with the spirit, the haunting got worse, and Janet started straight levitating, just all over her house. Good job. Good job, guys. So now things are starting to get more intense, and with the intensity and the popularity of the haunting, in flocks all of the paranormal investigators. So naturally, who shows up but Ed and Lorraine Warren? They contacted Peggy and they were like, hey, we want to come check out your house, please, and thank you. And so they do, and they make an appointment to come and hang out. You remember Ed and Lorraine from last week's video, yes? Yes, so same Ed, same Lorraine. If you want to know more about them, please watch the first video, but for a quick little synopsis, Ed is a demonologist and Lorraine is a psychic medium. So as soon as Ed and Lorraine walk into the house, they are convinced that the family and the home is being invaded by a demonic presence. During these meetings with the Warrens, they reported seeing items levitating around the home, things materializing out of thin air, and scariest of all, they watched wallpaper that had been on the walls just rip from the walls without anyone touching it. It was just like, that's it, it was gone. And it seems so unbelievable, but just like in the Conjuring 1, how we discussed that Lorraine was a consultant on that movie, she was also a consultant on the Conjuring 2, and she swears up and down that this actually happened. So, just like in our first video in the series, The Exorcist, this one also has an anticlimactic ending. They never have big, like Hollywood blockbuster bang endings. It's always just kind of like, it's over. In late 1979, a priest came to the house and performed a blessing. And after that, the events just sort of fizzled out and stopped. Just like that. One blessing. That's all it took from a priest. So, unlike in the movie, there was no big showdown between Lorraine Warren and the evil demon nun. And of course, and unfortunately, we didn't get to have Ed Warren sit and play guitar for the kids. He didn't play Fools Rush In for the kids. That stuff didn't happen. But the family said they didn't do anything additional to cleanse the house. It was just the priest coming and doing a blessing, and that was it. They didn't do anything else to try to fix it. And the movie definitely over-exaggerated, in my opinion, the Warrens' involvement. Like, they were there a little bit, but poor Maurice, man. Maurice was there through the nitty-gritty every time, and he's just like a footnote in the movie. He has a very small role, so I bet he's just like, wow, rude, I was there from the beginning, but okay, give the Warrens all the credit. Sure. So eventually the family did move out of the house, as they always do, and there was no more hauntings for Janet or anyone else in the family once they left that home, which is weird since I thought it was a haunted person and not a haunted place, but it just stopped when they moved. Later in life, Janet and her sister did admit that prior to all of the supernatural events in their home, they had played with a Ouija board, and that's the only thing they could think of that may have caused the events that took place in their home in the 70s. And that, my friends, is the story of the Enfield Poltergeist, or as a lot of people call it, the UK's Amityville. Spooky stuff, right? Do you think it's real? Do you think they were lying? What do you think? I don't know. Because this case in particular does have a lot of controversy. They all do, but this one definitely does, because while reporters were there investigating, two of the girls did get caught staging haunting activity. And when they were confronted, they were like, okay, yeah, we staged this one, but like everything else was real. So it's like, I don't know, it's a little suspicious, but also the voice coming out of a 12-year-old girl, I don't know how she could have done that. I don't know. What do you guys think? It's very, I don't know. I don't know if I believe it, but I do know that it's October and it's spooky and it's fun, and I've had a lot of fun doing this video, and I had a lot of fun creating this look. This is the look, by the way. What do you think? This one I think is really cute. I think it's pretty. I'm trying to do stuff that people would want to recreate, and I know a lot of girls would. I feel like this is something a girl would want to do, because you could do this, which is pretty, and then wear like a dress and then still be in the Halloween spirit, but still be like, look at me, look at how cute I am, that kind of thing. I will say, out of all the looks I've done so far, this one was the most difficult. I thought this was going to be easy. It wasn't, so if you're going to recreate this, make sure you have time, because if you want it to look good and symmetrical, it is a little bit of a journey, but I do like how it looks, and I would do this one on myself because I think it's pretty. I like it. But yeah, guys, that's the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I gave you everything you wanted and you got into the spooky spirit with me. Of course, if you haven't yet, please join the Brat Pack by ringing the bell and subscribing to my channel. I put out new videos every week, and I would love to hang out with you. And please let me know down below any true crime cases you'd like me to cover once Halloween's over, because I'm ready to get back into those, because these are fun, but I also really want to do those. And I have a list of cases that I'm going to do, but I'd love to hear your suggestions so I can give you what you want. I want to give the people what they want. And of course, I'm so happy. Thank you for being here for my very first Halloween series on my channel. I've been on YouTube for 4 years and never did a Halloween series because it's very intimidating for me. I don't know how it's going to be received, because when I'm filming this, Halloween hasn't started, so I haven't uploaded any of them, but I hope you guys like them. And I just want to thank you for being here when you could literally be anywhere else in the world. You're tight. This whole thing is tight, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye.